All right, talking about elections and preparations, we have joining us at this time for the discussion as an election security management analyst, Innocent Chukwu, here with us in the studio. Innocent, good morning.
Thanks a lot.
It's nice to have you join
Chukuma,
us.
actually.
Innocent, yeah, exactly, Chukuma, sorry. Yeah, joining us. Now we have from our Abuja studio, INEC National Commissioner in charge of Public Affairs, Festus Okoye. Festus, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay. Let me begin with you, Festus. There has been a few reports in the past few months or few weeks on areas where they could likely be violence during the election. But INEC is not naturally saddled with the responsibility of handling security. But what are the concerns from within INEC when it comes to ensuring or giving assurance to people that the elections will hold in certain areas and certain states and so on?
Well, this morning, the Commission is holding a top-level meeting with the heads of the different security agencies in Nigeria under the auspices of the Inter-Agency Consultative Committee on Election Security. At this particular meeting, we are going to review the security situation in different parts of the country, in the northeast, where we have what I call resurgence of insurgency. We are going to also look at the security situation in the different camps of the internally displaced persons. And as of today, we have internally displaced persons in at least 50 states of the Federation. So we are going to review the reports from all these areas. But the assurance we are giving to the Nigerian people is that in every state where it is possible to conduct elections, in every local government where it's possible to conduct election, and in every constituency where it's possible to conduct elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission will conduct election in those areas. So we are working with the different security agencies and the different state emergency management agencies to establish where we have security challenges and where it is possible to conduct elections. But the truth of the matter is that elections will take place in Nigeria on the days designated by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But if it is impossible to conduct election in one or two constituencies or in a few places, the Independent National Electoral Commission will inform the Nigerian people of this particular situation and the reason or reasons why it is impossible to have election in a few places.
All right, let me bring it to Innocent Chukuma here, who is an election security management analyst. In 2015, we had this issue with the Northeast, where the election actually had to be postponed by a number of days. 11.2 million people have registered in the Northeast to vote. Considering this number, would you say that there is any reason really to have serious concerns about security in that part of the country and, of course, the rest of the country?
I particularly like the keywords Festus used in describing INEC preparations to conduct the election. He said where it is possible. And the situation on the ground now, if you look at the recent election security threat assessment conducted by the Clean Foundation, indicates that 25 states out of the 36 states, there are concerns. And if you disaggregate further, 13 of those states are in amber light because they use security, they use traffic light to designate the degree of concern. So 13 are on amber light, 12 are on red. And within those 12 that are on the red, a number of states in the northeast are there. You have Adamawa, you have Borno, and they will increasingly extend to Yobe if you look at the, as he said, the resurgence of insurgency. So the security forces are reassuring us that they are ramping up efforts to dislodge Boko Haram in the areas that they seem to be holding strong now. So it remains to be seen. We have approximately a month and a few days before the election, whether they will be able to do that. And if they don't, well, we already have a precedent where in the last election, it was postponed by 2 weeks or so. So, and even if, because this INEC still has a window, if you look at the Electoral Act, I think they are required to conduct elections at least 30 days or so before the handover. So they'll still have a room for that. But we're not praying for that to happen. But I think there is still room to accommodate that if that happens.
All right. But in this case, let me stay with you, Innocent. In this situation where those states have been identified as those where there'll be likely flashpoints and all of that, not only the Northeast, even in the South, there are some states in the Southwest, you know, across the country.
25, yeah.
Exactly. Now, from this standpoint where we are now, counting down about less than a month to, or about a month to the election, if proactive active measures have to be taken, who should be looking at what?
So it requires all key stakeholders being on board, because in some of the states, actually why they featured in the analysis about concern, well, because of activities of key stakeholders like political parties. I mean, if you take a state like, say, for instance, Kaduna State, where you have people who were previously in the same party, but because of disagreement, they moved to different parties and are heating it up, in addition to you know, attacks in the southern part of the state. That has raised the profile of the state in terms of threat assessment. You look at also of Imo State. There's also people in the same party. Now they've moved to different parties and are heating up the state. So it requires not just the security agencies, but key stakeholders, especially the political parties and their candidates, and also the media, both the traditional media and the online media that keep reporting, because issues around hate speech is also featuring prominently in the list of you know, factors that are driving up these concerns. So it requires everybody working together, and if everybody is on board in doing that, they could do quite a lot. But we also need to situate this around the fact that the 2019 election is a consolidation election. There are two types of elections we have in this country. You have transitional election, that's those conducted by either the military or before the military, the colonial master. During transitional election, it's usually more peaceful because those who are presiding over the election are not contestants in it. The political parties behave themselves because they have a common enemy, in quote, that they want to drive out, the military. But when you have consolidation, everything is at stake, because those who are conducting the election or those who are funding the conduct of the election by the government are also interested stakeholders. So parties are not willing to give the other benefit of the doubt because a lot is at stake.
And
so
that makes it even more...
It makes it more volatile.
More volatile. Let's take it to Festus Okoye. The President Muhammadu Buhari actually said the other day that he has warned INEC to ensure peaceful free, fair and peaceful election. Now, I guess in the studio, Innocent has just said, it's even more volatile now that you have, the stakes seem to be higher. What kind of engagement is INEC having with stakeholders, with political parties, the gladiators themselves, and all those who, one way or another, will affect this election, for good or for bad? Can you paint a picture for us?
Well, we've been having stakeholder engagement with different sectors and actors in the political process. We've had a stakeholder engagement with the political parties under their common agency, IPAC. Just yesterday, we had engagement with civil society groups and organizations. We presented the voters register to them. We presented the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of the 2019 elections to them for critique. And yesterday, too, we had an engagement with the media, briefing them on the things we are doing, the things that are yet to be done, and the type of cooperation and assistance we require from them going forward. By next week, between the 14th and 15th, we are going to have engagement at the state level with traditional rulers and religious leaders. So we are engaging the different stakeholders in the electoral process, letting them know that this particular election needs to be peaceful, letting them know that all of us have a stake in making sure that we have a credible election, because the conduct of a free, fair, and transparent election is a multi-stakeholder venture. The Independent National Electoral Commission cannot do it alone. The security agencies cannot do it alone. The voters themselves, the Nigerian people themselves, have a stake in making sure that they own this particular process and that they guide this particular process It is only through vigilance and only through stakeholder engagement that we can have a seamless process that the Nigerian people will be proud of. So we are engaging all the critical stakeholders, the government, the National Assembly, and every other person that has a stake in this country. We are engaging them, and we are confident and we are sure that at the end of the day, all of us will come together as a people and as a nation and do our country proud.
All right, Festus, when it comes to areas where there has been relocation of people, either due to the crisis in the past few months or last year, for instance, like people in Guma and in Logo, in Benue State, for instance, a lot of people have been relocated to IDP camps where you have polling units where they originally were, and now they're in IDP camps, and they may remain in IDP camps through the electoral process or through the electoral period. How are you going to handle, are you going to create new polling units for them, or how is that kind of situation going to handle?
Well, because of the IDP challenge in different parts of the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission decided to set up a committee on IDP voting. And that committee had almost all the resident electoral commissioners from all the states where we have IDP challenge. And they met and designed a framework for IDP voting. And based on that particular framework, we rolled out a regulation on how to handle IDP voting. I went to Benue State, and I went to so many of the IDP camps, especially those relocated or displaced from the Guma area. So what we are going to do is that during the continuous voters registration exercise, those IDPs that lost their voters' cards, we recapture them and replace their permanent voters' cards for them. Those whose voters' cards were defaced, we replace their permanent voters' cards. Those who were not previously registered, we register them under the continuous voters registration exercise. So during this voting period, what we are going to do is that all the IDPs from Guma have their polling units. So we are going to configure the smart card readers to the registration areas so that they will be in a position to vote. So all the IDPs are going to vote, and we are going to design a special result sheet for IDP voting. But each IDP will vote according to his or her registration area. So the resident electoral commissioners are looking at the location and the number of IDPs in a particular place for purposes of designing a voting pattern for them. So we have the issue of IDP voting under control. Okay. The only challenge is that as we are designing the methodology for their voting, some of them are also going back to where they came from because relative peace has returned to some of those areas. But we have mapped out a clear direction and a clear pattern for IDP voting, and we don't have any serious challenge with the issue of IDP voting, because the law says that the Independent National Electoral Commission should make provision for them, and that is exactly what we're doing.
All right, thank you very much. We'll still come back to you. Let me bring it to Innocent here, talking about the security, ensuring security during the elections. He has said that INEC has been engaging with all stakeholders to ensure peaceful election. Now, what elements do you think should INEC be considering? There's a peace accord, which, of course, some of the political parties have said they will pull out of for different reasons and all of that. And only yesterday, you had at a rally, at the APC rally, at least two people may have lost their lives. Obviously, there was a security breach there. Now, in recommending how we can ensure peace during the elections, what would be the elements that you would factor in?
I think, first of all, it's important to commend INEC for the proactive steps that they have taken in ensuring that nothing is left undone to prepare for a peaceful election. But it also requires the other stakeholders, the security agencies themselves, and more importantly, the political party to play their own role. If you stay for a second with the security agencies, they require a lot of internal preparations. In my over 20 years of monitoring elections in Nigeria, the security lapses actually come from basic logistics preparations that security agencies need to make arrangements for. For instance, on election days, you have ban on free movement of persons and vehicles. So it requires transportation to move the security agents on election duty to their places of primary assignment. And you ask yourself, the average police station in Nigeria cannot boast of more than 2 functional vehicles. How are these officers going to get to their primary places of assignment without depending on political parties to give them a lift in expectation of something? That's one. There is also the issue of communication. If the police officials who are posted on polling units, average of 2 per polling unit, if they have situations that threaten law and order, do they have communication to call for backup? Again, a typical police station in Nigeria cannot boast of more than 10 functional walkie-talkies, and the average numbers of personnel in it is about 150 to 200, which means 20 police officers to one walkie-talkie. How is that going to happen? Their welfare, these are people who are going to be posted far away from their homes. Who is preparing for them? Things as basic as food. In fact, the military do a better job. On election day, you see them put up their makeshift this thing, and then they have trucks that move food and all of that. The police do not do that. And also, there's also the perception that the leadership is not neutral. Now, he is due for retirement. Why is he not retiring? Now, this is somebody who actions have been called into question variously. So why is he being returned when he's supposed to? These are what feeds the opposition parties into feeling that these people are not out there to play their role in a neutral manner. Now, if we move to political parties, issues around internal democracies. I was not at the APC rally yesterday, but if you look at the processes that led to the emergence of some of the candidates and the disagreements by those who felt of some of the candidates and the disagreements by those who felt that they were shortchanged, if these things are not resolved, they are taken to election day. So INEC is just one party in this process, though a critical one. The other role players, the security agencies, the political parties, the civil society, the media, all have to be in cahoot in preparing for a peaceful election.
Okay, let me take it to Festus. Let's talk about the issue of the vote buying. The INEC chairman a few days ago raised that alarm on the issue of vote buying, and also talked about the fact that politicians are devising ways of getting PVCs from the electorate. Talk to us on how INEC is trying to checkmate that, because he assured that INEC has gone far beyond all those machinations.
Well, you know, we have been putting processes in place to make sure that the politicians do not overwhelm the voters at the polling units. I have been at some polling units as an election observer, and I saw the way politicians and political parties and candidates try to induce the voting public, and sometimes the activities tend to disrupt proceedings at the various polling units. We have banned the taking of any camera into the voting cubicle on election day. We have also designed a new framework on how to place the ballot box and the voting cubicles so that the secrecy of the vote will be guaranteed. We have also designed the ballot papers in a way that it will be pre-folded by the presiding officer before it is handed over to the voter on election day. And the voter has to also fold it in accordance with the prescribed procedure before the voter throws the ballot paper into the ballot box. But the truth of the matter is that as we are designing processes and procedures on how to guarantee the secrecy of the vote and to make sure that the votes of the people count, the political parties and the candidates and aspirants are also designing their own methods on how to undermine the process, thereby lowering the whole issue of trust in our electoral process. So the buying up of the voters, permanent voters cards is a new one. It is only the political parties and the candidates that are buying up these voters cards that can really tell the Nigerian people what they intend to do with what they are buying up. Some of them believe that it's possible for them to preload the smart card reader and use it for some odious purposes. The truth of the matter is that the type of smart card reader we have now is impossible for anybody to preload it, because the smart card reader takes its date and other data from the network, and the smart card reader opens at a particular time and shuts down at a particular time. So anybody who is buying up permanent voters cards thinking that he or she is going to preload a stolen smart card reader is just wasting his or her time.
So would you say then that
secondly,
the INEC's data bank is cyber attack proof? I mean, I'm sure you have a central data bank. How secure, safe is that data bank?
No. The issue of the data bank doesn't arise at this point in time.
Okay.
Because the Independent National Electoral Commission is going to use the existing law and the existing legal framework in the conduct of this election. And the existing legal framework has some manual connotation to it, and also has some elements of use of technology. When a voter gets to the polling unit, the voter faces the presiding officer, who uses the smart card reader for purposes of verification and authentication of the permanent voter's card. But the other processes in terms of the name of the person being on the voter's register must also be complied with. And we have told all the presiding officers, and we are going to make it very clear to them, that any presiding officer that undermines the use of the smart card reader or undermines the process of accreditation, we face prosecution. So we have some of these things under control. Okay. The only thing a political party can do, or a candidate can do, in terms of this permanent voters card, is to make sure that those who own these permanent voters cards do not vote at all, or do not come to the polling unit. Okay. But if you come to the polling unit, only the owner of this permanent voters card can use it, and we have some of these things under control. All right. So I think that those who are buying up these permanent voters cards are just, they have their own design, okay. But we are not going to allow them to get away with these designs.
All right, okay. Innocent, when it comes to the issue of vote buying, a lot of, in fact, from Ekiti and Osun State that we have seen, vote buying is happening even days before the election. We've heard in Osun, for instance, where account numbers were collected from people and all of that. So even if INEC is doing everything to checkmate what happens on the time of election, how about the days before the election?
Yeah, actually in the Election Security Threat Assessment report I cited earlier, conducted by Clean Foundation, vote buying was #1 on the list of factors that are likely to compromise the election. The others include the history of electoral violence, godfatherism, hard drugs, and all of that. So yes, and also we also need to put the issue of vote buying in perspective. For me, it's actually in some way an indication of progress. I've been monitoring election in this country since 1993. And between 1999 and 2007, those who were interested in falsifying election outcome will not bother themselves with vote buying, which is at the retail end of the transaction. They will concentrate on vote during a registration of voters, ballot box snatching, and all of that. So it's an indication that the vote has actually started counting, that people are now mopping it up. So to that extent, we may not again say INEC has any share of the blame, because they have gone as far as saying don't take cameras into the polling unit, because
so
that's
what the electorate now.
It's left for the electorate, and for me, is actually a function of two things. One is that the electorate has such a low opinion of the candidates that when they get elected, that they will not do anything, that they are willing to cash out now you know, and forgetting anything about notion of delayed gratification, that when this guy wins, that he will do something that will better my lot and that of my community.
Okay.
On the part of the candidate itself, it's also an opinion that the electorate is such a daft that he or she could be bought with just 500 or 1,000 naira. You know, it is a function of where we are in our democratization process that vote buying is actually being talked about. But again, political parties have a role to play, INEC is playing theirs, security agencies have a role to play, and civil society through civic education about the importance of democracy. People do not know that up until 1954, we did not have universal adult suffrage.
So a lot of progress has been made. Okay, let's take it very quickly to Festus Okoye, the INEC National Commissioner there. 74 presidential candidates will be on the ballot. If we're to look back since 1999, the numbers have gradually increased. Not even gradually. I mean, it's been quite astronomical. Yes, indeed. From 1999 to and of course in 2015 you had 14 presidential candidates. Now 74. How is that going to affect? Number one, both the collation of results and the announcement of results, because some reports say that results may take about 5 days before we know them, if, you know, these 74 presidential candidates are on the ballot. How are you going to handle that?
The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria obligates the Independent National Electoral Commission to register every association that has met the threshold for purposes of registration. And that is exactly what we have done. Now, the Constitution and the law has also said that any political party that conducts both direct and indirect primaries and presents or nominates a candidate, and the candidate meets all the requirements set out in the law, that the Independent National Electoral Commission is obligated to publish the name of such candidates as either presidential candidates or governorship candidates and so on. And that's exactly what we have done. So based on the new arrangement, we have 73 political parties on the ballot. We have designed the ballot paper to accommodate the 73 political parties. We have shown the specimen of how the ballot paper will look like to the different political parties, civil society groups, and the media. And they are going to use this specimen for purposes of civic and voter education. So it's going to be challenging. But as at the quantum of time it will take for us to announce the results of the presidential election and other elections, I'm not in a position to make a determination in relation to that. But we are discussing with the different stakeholders, and we are going to hold a meeting of the commission, and we are going to look at all these things. But I can assure you that we are on top of the situation, and we are going to declare the results of the presidential election as soon as, we are going to declare the results expeditiously, so that we don't keep the Nigerian people waiting for too long.
All right, Festus
But the truth
Okoye.
of the matter is that it's going to be challenging, but we're on top of the situation.
All right, Festus Okoye, INEC National Commissioner in charge of Public Affairs. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Thank you. And Innocent Chukwuma.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Election Security Management Analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot.